My girlfriend said, let's open our relationship for just 1 month. I replied, okay. Then I started dating her coworker. When she broke down and asked to end it, I told her it was too late. I was already in love. I'm Alex, 28M. My girlfriend, Maya, is 26F. We've been together a little over 3 years, living together for the last one. On paper, it looks solid. Same city, stable jobs, shared lease, shared friends. In reality, it's been death by 1,000 comments. Maya has a talent for making you feel small without ever raising her voice. Everything is a critique disguised as a joke. My clothes are sad. My job is safe but boring. The way I relax after work is kind of unattractive. If I ever call her out, she says I'm too sensitive and that she's just being honest. About a month ago, she started acting different. More phone time, more late nights with coworkers, new outfits she definitely wasn't buying for me. When I asked if something was wrong, she smirked and said, relax, you're not my dad. Then came the conversation. We were eating dinner, something I cooked, which she barely touched, when she put her fork down and said, way too calmly, I've been thinking. I think we should open our relationship, just for 1 month. I laughed at first, thought she was joking. She wasn't. She launched into this whole speech about growth, freedom, not wanting to feel trapped, how monogamy is kind of outdated. She said it like she was doing me a favor, like I should be grateful she was being so progressive. I asked her if she already had someone in mind. She rolled her eyes. Why does that matter? You're being insecure again. That's when I knew the month had already started. She just hadn't told me yet. She leaned back in her chair and said the line that still rings in my head. If you can't handle this, maybe you're not mature enough for me. I looked at her for a long second. Then I said, okay. She smiled. Not relieved, satisfied. Like she'd won. I don't think she expected what happened next. The rules were her idea. Of course they were. No coworkers, she said immediately, scrolling on her phone while explaining it. That would be messy. No friends. No emotional attachment. And if either of us gets uncomfortable, we talk about it like adults. She said adults the same way she always did, like she was one and I was still catching up. I nodded, acted calm, asked neutral questions. Inside, I felt oddly detached, like I'd stepped back from the relationship and was watching it instead of living it. That night, she dressed up and left without saying where she was going. Just kissed my cheek and said, don't wait up. I didn't. Instead, I downloaded a dating app. Not out of spite. Out of curiosity. If this was really about growth and freedom, I figured I might as well see what that felt like. I wasn't expecting much. A few awkward chats. Maybe an ego boost. Then I matched with Rachel. She was 25, worked in marketing, loved terrible reality TV, and here's the detail that made me pause. She worked at the same company as Maya. Different department. Different floor. I recognized the logo in one of her photos instantly. I almost swiped left. One of Maya's rules echoed in my head. No coworkers. But then I remembered something important. Those were her rules. And she'd already broken the spirit of every single one of them. So I swiped right. Rachel messaged first. Simple. Funny. No attitude. No subtle insults wrapped in sarcasm. We talked for hours that first night. About music, about bad bosses, about how exhausting dating could be. She asked questions. Real ones. And actually listened to the answers. When Maya came home at 2 a.m., smelling like cologne that wasn't mine, she barely noticed I was still awake. She kicked off her shoes and said, see? No big deal. I smiled and said, yeah, no big deal. I didn't tell her I had a date scheduled for Friday. Not because I was hiding it, but because, for the first time in a long time, something felt like it was finally mine. Friday came faster than I expected. Maya barely acknowledged me all day. She was glued to her phone, smiling at messages she tilted away whenever I walked past. At one point she laughed and said, God, you're so nosy. Even though I hadn't asked a single question. I told her I had plans that night. She raised an eyebrow. Already. You said 1 month, I replied. She smirked. Didn't think you'd actually do anything with it. That should have been my warning sign. She didn't want equality. She wanted permission. Rachel and I met at a bar not far from her office. Casual place. Nothing fancy. She showed up in jeans and a leather jacket. No overthinking, no performance. She hugged me when we met, like it was natural. Like she wasn't evaluating me. Conversation was easy. Too easy. She told me Maya's name about 20 minutes in, not realizing the connection yet. Complained about how she was kind of intense at work. Said she talked down to people and loved reminding everyone she was the smartest one in the room. I just nodded, heart beating a little faster. At some point, Rachel asked why I was on the app if I was in a relationship. I told her the truth. No spin. No victim act. Just facts. She didn't judge me. She didn't flirt harder. She just said, "That sounds complicated." By the end of the night, I realized something uncomfortable. I felt lighter with her. Like I wasn't bracing myself for a comment or a correction. When she laughed, it wasn't sharp. When she teased me, it wasn't cruel. We didn't hook up. She said she wanted to take things slow. I respected that. When I got home, Maya was already there. Sitting on the couch, arms crossed. "You're late," she said. "So were you the other night," I replied. She rolled her eyes. "Did you at least have fun?" "Yeah," I said. "I did." That was the first time I saw something flicker across her face. Not anger. Concern. After that night, Maya started paying attention again. Not in a warm way. More like someone checking their reflection after noticing a crack. She asked questions she hadn't asked in months. "So what was she like?" I shrugged. "Normal." She scoffed. "That's not an answer." The thing was, I didn't want to give her one. Over the next week, Rachel and I kept talking. Texts turned into coffee breaks. Coffee turned into walks after work. Nothing dramatic. No rules broken. Just time. And somehow, that felt more intimate than anything Maya and I had shared recently. Meanwhile, Maya's tone shifted. She'd casually mention her dates. Always vague. Always framed like she was in control. He was hot, but kind of dumb. Another guy got weirdly attached already. She said it like she was proving something. One night, while scrolling through her phone, she said, "You know, this open thing is actually really good for us." I looked up from my laptop. "Is it?" She hesitated. "Just a beat." "Yeah. I think you're handling it better than I expected." There it was again. Surprise. Like she'd assumed I'd flail around while she explored. That same evening, Rachel invited me over. Just to watch a movie. No expectations. When I told Maya, she stiffened. "Her place." "Yeah." She laughed, but it sounded forced. "Wow, you're really leaning into this." At Rachel's apartment, we sat on opposite ends of the couch at first. By the end of the movie, her head was on my shoulder. It felt natural. Easy. Safe. She looked up at me and said quietly, "If this gets messy, tell me. I don't want to be anyone's experiment." I told her she wasn't. And I meant it. When I got home, Maya was awake. Waiting. "Did you sleep with her?" she asked flatly. "No," I said. She exhaled, relief flashing before she could hide it. That's when I realized something important. She wasn't afraid of losing me to anything physical. She was afraid of losing me to someone who treated me better. Things shifted fast after that. Too fast for Maya. She started nitpicking again, but it sounded different now. Sharper, rushed. Like she was trying to reassert control and didn't quite know how. "You seem distracted lately," she said one morning while I was tying my shoes. "I'm fine." She smirked. "Just don't forget this was your choice too." That wasn't true, and we both knew it. Rachel and I crossed a line that week. Not physically, but emotionally. We stayed up late talking on her couch, knees touching, voices low. She told me about her childhood, about always feeling like she had to earn affection. I told her things I hadn't told Maya in years, mostly because Maya never asked. When I got home that night, Maya was waiting again. "You're smiling," she said. "Am I?" "Yeah. You never smile like that anymore." She didn't say with me, but it hung in the air. A few days later, she cornered me in the kitchen and said, "I think we need to check in." Her tone was tight, rehearsed. This was supposed to be casual. "You're getting attached." I leaned against the counter and said, "You said 1 month. We're still in it." Her jaw clenched. "That's not the point." There it was. The unspoken rule change. That weekend, Rachel and I slept together for the first time. No drama. No rush. No power games. Just closeness. Afterward, she rested her head on my chest and said, almost apologetically, "This feels dangerous." Why? Because it feels real. When I got home the next day, Maya was pacing. She didn't bother with sarcasm this time. "I don't like this anymore," she said. "I think we should close the relationship. Early." I looked at her and felt strangely calm. "Why?" I asked. She opened her mouth, then closed it. "Tried again. Because I didn't think you'd actually connect with someone." That was the moment I knew. This was never about freedom. It was about control, and she was losing it. Maya didn't drop it after that. She just changed tactics. Suddenly, she was affectionate again. Too affectionate. Touching my arm when she talked. Laughing at jokes she used to roll her eyes at. Making my favorite meals like she'd just remembered what they were. It felt rehearsed, like someone rereading old notes before a test. "I miss us," she said one night, curling up next to me on the couch. Before things got weird. I didn't respond right away, because the truth was uncomfortable. Things hadn't gotten weird. They'd gotten honest. Rachel and I were seeing each other openly now. Lunch dates near her office. Evenings together. She never asked me to leave Maya. Never pressured me. She just showed up as herself, consistent, kind, present. And every time I went home, the contrast got louder. Maya noticed. She started checking my location, asking when I'd be home, getting irritated if I didn't text back fast enough. The same woman who told me monogamy was outdated was suddenly obsessed with boundaries. One night she snapped, "Are you fucking her again?" I looked at her, surprised by how angry she sounded. "Yes," I said calmly. She froze. "You didn't even hesitate," she said. "I'm not lying anymore," I replied. That's when she broke. Not crying, ranting, accusing Rachel of manipulation. Calling her some basic office girl who doesn't know what she's doing. She said Rachel was trying to steal me, like I was a jacket left unattended. I told her to stop talking about her like that. That set her off even more. "You're choosing her over me," Maya said, voice shaking now. "After everything we've built. Like it hadn't been eroding for months." She told me she wanted to end the open relationship immediately. Demanded it, actually. Said this month was a mistake. That she felt sick every time she thought about me with someone else. I listened. Let her finish. Then I said, "I'll think about it." Her eyes widened. What does that mean? It meant something had already changed. Because for the first time since we'd started dating, I wasn't scared of losing her. I was scared of losing myself again if I stayed. Maya didn't wait long for my answer. She never did well with uncertainty, especially when she wasn't the one controlling it. 2 days later, she cornered me after work, eyes red, voice already trembling. "I can't do this anymore," she said. "I want to end it. The open thing. Now." I set my keys down slowly. "End it how?" "You stop seeing her," she said, like it was obvious. "We go back to normal. This was a mistake. I was wrong." That was new. Maya didn't admit being wrong. Ever. I asked her what normal meant. She frowned. "Us. Together. Monogamous. Like before. Before. When I walked on eggshells. When honesty was inconvenient. When my feelings were too much." I told her I needed time. That's when she broke down for real. She cried on the kitchen floor, mascara streaking, saying she didn't think it would hurt like this. That she thought I'd get it out of my system. That she never imagined I'd actually fall for someone else. That word landed heavy. I didn't deny it. I told her the truth, that Rachel made me feel seen. That I didn't feel like I was that with her, I wasn't constantly bracing for the next insult disguised as a joke. Maya stared at me like I'd slapped her. "So that's it?" she whispered. 3 years, and you're just gone?" I shook my head. "I didn't leave. You opened the door." She begged me to cut Rachel off. Promised therapy. Promised change. Promised things she'd mocked me for wanting before. I told her I'd talk to Rachel. That was the only thing I could offer honestly. When I met Rachel that night, I told her everything. No filters. No hero edit. She listened quietly, then said, "I don't want to be the reason you blow up your life." "You're not," I said. "You're the reason I finally see it clearly." She took a deep breath. "If you choose her, I'll understand." I realized then how different love feels when it isn't demanded. And I already knew what I was going to choose. The next 48 hours were brutal in a quiet way. Maya barely spoke to me. She moved around the apartment like a ghost, slamming drawers just loud enough to make a point. When she did talk, it was sharp again, defensive, bitter. Like vulnerability had embarrassed her, and she was punishing both of us for it. "You really think she's special?" she snapped while making coffee. "She's just being nice because she's new. That wears off." I didn't rise to it. I didn't argue. And that silence bothered her more than anything. That night, Rachel and I went for a long walk. No distractions. Just honesty. I told her I was scared. Of hurting Maya. Of making the wrong call. Of realizing too late that I'd traded something real for something shiny. Rachel didn't interrupt. She squeezed my hand and said, "I'm not asking you to choose me. I'm asking you to choose what feels right when no one's pressuring you." That hit hard. When I got home, Maya was sitting at the kitchen table. No phone. No sarcasm. Just red eyes and folded hands. "I can't sleep," she said. "I keep imagining you leaving." I sat across from her. For the first time in weeks, we talked without posturing. She admitted she suggested opening the relationship because she wanted permission to explore without consequences. She thought I'd stay put. Wait, be grateful she came back. I didn't think you'd be wanted, she said quietly. That hurt more than the insults ever did. She reached for my hand. Please, end it with her. I'll do better. I swear. I looked at her and felt a deep sadness. Not anger, not resentment. Just the understanding that love built on fear of replacement isn't love at all. I care about you, I said. But it's too late. Her breath caught. Too late for what? I didn't answer right away, because saying it out loud would make it real. And once it was real, there was no undoing it. I told her the truth that night. I'm in love with her. The words didn't come out dramatic. No raised voice. No anger. Just flat, honest, unavoidable. Maya stared at me like her brain refused to process it. You're not, she said quickly. You think you are? It's just because this started as something forbidden. I shook my head. No, it's because with her, I don't feel like I'm constantly failing. That's when she lost it. She cried. She yelled. She accused me of humiliating her at work, of turning her coworker against her, of ruining her reputation. She called Rachel calculating. A snake. A rebound. She said Rachel was only interested in me because I was unavailable at first. I didn't defend Rachel. I didn't need to. The contrast between how Maya spoke and how Rachel never once spoke about Maya said everything. Maya begged. Then she threatened. Then she begged again. She told me she'd quit her job if she had to. That she'd block everyone. That she'd be better. All the promises she'd mocked when I'd asked for basic respect. But something inside me had already shut the door. I packed a bag that night. Not everything. Just enough. As I zipped it up, Maya sat on the bed and said, almost calmly, "You'll regret this. She'll get bored. And I won't be here when you come back." I paused. Looked at her. I know, I said. That's the point. I left before sunrise. Rachel didn't celebrate when I showed up at her place. She didn't say, "I told you so." She just opened the door, saw my bag, and hugged me like she already knew how heavy it was. Lying next to her later, listening to her breathe, I realized something uncomfortable and freeing at the same time. The open relationship didn't end my relationship with Maya. It just exposed the truth fast enough that I didn't waste another year pretending. It's been a few months now, and I'm finally far enough away from it all to see the shape of what happened without flinching. Maya didn't take it quietly. She told people her version first. Said I betrayed her. Said I used the open relationship as an excuse to upgrade. Said Rachel stole me. I didn't correct any of it. The people who mattered eventually figured it out on their own. The rest were never really mine anyway. She tried reaching out once more. A long message about closure, about how she never meant to hurt me, about how she hoped one day I'd understand why she needed to feel wanted by more than one person. I read it twice and realized something strange. I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't reply. Rachel and I took things slow after I moved out. No rushing, no big declarations. Just dinners, shared mornings, learning each other without an expiration date hanging over us. With her, I don't feel like I'm constantly auditioning to be enough. I don't brace myself before speaking. I don't replay conversations afterward wondering what I should have said differently. Sometimes I think back to that night at the kitchen table, Maya saying, "Let's open our relationship. Just for 1 month." She said it like she was setting terms, like she was still in control of the outcome. She didn't realize that opening the relationship didn't give her freedom. It gave me perspective. She thought I'd stay because I always had. Thought love meant tolerance. Thought I'd wait while she explored, then be grateful when she came back. Instead, I learned what it feels like to be chosen without being diminished. When she broke down and asked to end it, she wasn't asking for us. She was asking for her safety net back. By then, it really was too late. Not because I wanted to hurt her, but because I finally understood what I didn't want anymore. So yeah, that's it. I didn't plan to fall in love. I didn't plan to leave the way I did. But sometimes the moment you agree to something that scares you is the moment you finally stop lying to yourself. She wanted 1 month of freedom. I walked away with the rest of my life.